Hello, ladies and gentlemen of the wonderful planet Nexus. How's it going, everyone? I hope you're feeling great, just as I am as per usual. I'm Icy Vulcan as always. Welcome back for some more WildStar. Now, today I'm going to give you guys 4 tips on how to successfully clear dungeons and possibly raids in WildStar, because the PvE content in WildStar is pretty damn hardcore. If you didn't know it was that hardcore, then you might as well watch the DevSpeak video for it and read some of the AMA on Reddit. But I'm going to give you guys 4 tips so that you'll be prepared to face the many terrible pug groups that you'll have to run with for WildStar dungeons. Okay, so here's my number 1 tip on clearing dungeons and raids in WildStar. Communicate. For the love of God and furry roused hours. Communication is key, and use it well. It'll guide you to success, and if you don't have any communication in hardcore group content, then you're bound to fail the boss fights, the boss encounters. Think of dungeons and raids as a work environment. You have your raid leader, who's your manager, and then you have your other party members who are your co-employees. And so let's say you make a mistake during a boss fight, during some sort of work assignment. How do you look for advice? Well, you verbalize your thoughts and your feelings in the chat, in the party chat, in the raid chat, whatever kind of chat you're using. Make sure to ask questions to other peers or to give advice to other people if they aren't performing so well. If you happen to see someone not doing as well as you are, and if both of you are playing the same class, you might as well give some tips to the guy who's not doing so well. And so giving advice will increase the possibilities of downing a certain boss. So always communicate with your team, and if you feel like something wrong's going on within the raid or group environment, make sure to talk with the party leader, and don't do it exactly in the main party chat, but maybe whisper it to him and tell him what's going on and who's behaving negatively in the group. Now here's tip number 2. Make sure to build some type of strategy early on before taking on a boss or trash mobs even. Make sure you're pointing people at a certain direction, give them tasks, give people specific tasks depending on what role they're performing. If someone's a healer, make sure to tell them to stay out of bad stuff so that they won't be interrupted when they're casting heals on allies. If someone's a DPS, then tell them to focus on adds that the boss might be summoning, or to just focus on the boss or destructible environments that need to be destroyed. If they're a tank, then you want to tell them to switch off threat with maybe an off tank if you're happening to be running a raid. Because usually in raids you have an off tank, you have a secondary tank, and you have a main tank. But you can also build strategies for trash mobs, although it is not that mandatory. But for boss fights, you must point out what's going to happen during the encounter and what people need to do in order to progress during the fight. Tip number 3, be aware of your surroundings. It is very important for you to stay alive, and so looking at your surroundings will help you minimize the damage you take from enemy telegraphs. Don't just focus on the DPS meter. Don't look at the numbers you're dealing at a boss. I know it is tempting, but nobody really cares at how much damage you're dealing at a boss, because in order to get a boss dead, you must stay alive. And if most of your group isn't alive, then you're not going to get stuff done, of course. So remember, being aware is more important than looking at DPS meters. Make sure you're looking out for enemy telegraphs. Look at what the tanks are doing. If they're pulling a boss, let them do that. Let them build some threat on the boss, and after 5 or 3 seconds, you can DPS. But make sure to look carefully at what's going on around you, because if you're not looking, if you're just looking at your action bar or your health bar or the DPS meter most of the time, that you're not really engaged in the boss encounter. And here's my 4th and final tip for you hardcore WildStar PvEers. Make sure to play skillfully. Whenever you're undertaking a boss fight, play at your best. And in order to do that, you have to master your class and of course keep a constant flow of DPS if you happen to be the DPS of the group. then you've got to make sure that you do damage whenever possible. Even if you have to dodge telegraphs, do some damage while dodging. Or if you have to move, then you can still do damage while doing that. Because some skill shots in WildStar can be casted while being on the run. So make sure to take advantage of that. Also, in order to be skillful during boss fights, you have to minimize the amount of damage that you take from the actual boss. So that means that you have to dodge out of telegraphs, run out of them as fast as possible, and use some kind of absorb type of abilities. If you're a medic, you can put on shields on people, and you can heal off people and do all sorts of cool stuff. So make sure to take advantage of some of the utility abilities that you have at your disposal, and support ones as well, that provide you some kind of health and shield boost. And don't forget, a lot of people make this common mistake. They often forget to use their innate ability, which is considered to be the ultimate ability of a specific class. And most of these innate abilities have cooldowns on them, which are pretty short, so people often forget that they even exist. So make sure to use those innate abilities whenever you're going through some kind of a hard phase during the boss fight. So if you're taking a lot of damage, and if you're playing an Esper, then you might want to use your innate ability, which provides you some absorb power. If you're a tank, make sure to use your innate ability to be able to take a lot of damage if there's some kind of intense phase going on. Use your support abilities. Pick out one or two, put them on your action bar, and use them as your emergency abilities, especially if you're playing DPS. But don't forget that you also have new mechanics in WildStar available, and these mechanics are not apparent in other MMOs, so make sure that you know that you can double jump or double dodge out of an enemy telegraph quickly in order to get out of a bad situation. You can double jump through platforms. If there is a boss fight that requires you to jump over platforms, then use the double jump. It's a great mechanic. And also use the sprint ability. Of course, you can use the sprint ability, which increases your movement speed. So again, make sure to use to take advantage of these new mechanics and to master your class. And if you can do both of these things, then you'll certainly get your boss fights done in no time. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. I hope this video was helpful to you, and I hope you're ready for the hardcore PvE content that WildStar has to offer. But again, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in Planet Nexus. Until next time, folks, goodbye.